especially those assistant superintendents. Yeah, thank you for being here. Let's do the roll call. Joan?
Charles Long,
Here?
Chris Martinson,
Here.
Michael Shaw,
Here.
Priscilla Manuelito, Kevin Mitchell.
Here.
Thank you, Joan. We do have a quorum. I'd like to call the meeting to order at this time. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Thank you, thank you. Let's go down to item 2, approval of the agenda.
Mr. President, I would like to make a motion that we move item G, the item about moving Monday, January 6, 2020, board meeting to Monday, January 13th, 2020, and make it an action item.
Okay, is there a second?
That's just to move that to, from the approved, from the
I
consent to
assume,
the, to
excuse
be an
me,
action
Chris.
item?
Michael, I assume that you also motioned to approve the agenda, right? Is that,
Well, I'll make a motion to approve, but we have to make any changes before we approve the
Yeah.
agenda. Make a motion
Well,
to.
during the adoption of the agenda, normally that's when you make changes. So if you make a motion to approve the agenda,
Okay, then I make,
along with that recommendation,
then I make a motion to approve the agenda with this recommendation.
is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Chris Mortensen. So the meeting date that was scheduled for Monday, January 6th, that's gonna be moved to the 13th or the 21st?
Well, we're gonna discuss it when it comes up.
Okay, so that will be taken from the consent agenda items and make it an action item.
Yes.
Okay, so you heard the motion. Let's vote on it. Roll call, Joan?
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Martinson,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes. Thank you, board members. We've adopted our agenda and also move consent item G to the action item,
Yes.
today's meeting. Okay, we go down to approval of the meeting minutes of the October 28th board meeting, item number 3.
I would like to make a motion that we approve the minutes of October 28, 2019.
Okay, motion's been made by Michael Shaw to approve the board meeting minutes of October 28th. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Kevin Mitchell. Roll call, Joan?
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Martinson,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes. Okay, thank you, board members. Let's go down to approval of consent agenda items. It is the pleasure of the board.
I would like to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda items 4A, 4B, 4C, 4D, 4E, 4F, and 4H.
Okay. Motion's been made by Michael Shaw to approve the consent agenda items. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Chris Mortensen. Roll call, Joan?
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Martinson,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes. Thank you, board members. Let's go down to study circle. And I believe that board members, you can read the notices and communication on your own. And let's go to the action item, moving the January 6th regular board meeting. What is the recommendations? Mike?
President Law, members of the board, we have had some discussion regarding moving the board meeting from January 6th to another date. The reason for that is we're going to be on travel, my executive leadership team working with Ogden School District. We'll be on travel during that time. And so we were looking at the 13th initially. There's pros and cons to where we move it to, but one of the cons of that is we're gone that week before and then have a board meeting right after that. There was also some discussion earlier before the meeting about whether we just combine the two meetings in January into one meeting on something like the 21st. And so those are some things that has been talked about. We will survive with whatever you choose. We just cannot be there during the week of the 6th. And so if you want to combine them, that is fine. If you want to still have two meetings, that is also fine, as long as that week, if you take in consideration not having it that week. So.
Mr. Hyatt, can you, I know it's still a ways out, can you predict at all what other type of business that might be out there that might make it hard to have one meeting in the month of January?
We did discuss it, usually, Mr. Mortensen, regarding a changing of a date or having things approved during times of the year. We look at procurement, we look at financial things primarily, because pretty much everything else we can adjust.
Okay.
As long as we're giving people enough lead time to know when the meeting's going to be, that gives central office and others time and school sites to prepare if they need an item on the agenda. We looked over procurement items. Worst case scenario, we think it'll work out fine. Worst case scenario, we have to have a special meeting, but that could happen with any board meeting.
Yeah.
But right now, we don't foresee any problems.
Just want to make sure that we're, have enough time to cover the agenda items we might potentially have and not have like a, crazy marathon meeting.
That is always the risk also. I know during that time, we'll be giving, whatever meeting we choose, that first meeting in January, we'll be doing an update on the strategic plan, Elevate 2022. And we'll have a few other things, but as far as other major items that we're aware of at this time at the start of the year, other than the new board will be sworn in on that first meeting also. Not new board members, but re-elected board members for their term. Those are the two items that we're projecting right now that'll happen on that date.
Mr. President,
Yes.
as Mr. Hyatt, legislation session start when?
It starts that's another piece that we actually talked about also in January. I think it's on the 17th or 18th, something like that is when the legislative session starts. So we talked about, let's pull that date up before we make a decision, because there's a potential to cause a conflict.
Because I'm thinking of resolutions or anything that might have to be approved that we might want to be pushing for our representatives and
session?
senators to
That's a
be.
good idea.
Just in case.
Yeah.
What's the date?
One, right?
I think I have it on my phone.
I probably have it on my phone too.
I thought I had it on my phone, but I don't.
So 2020, December 16th and 17th, legislation may be pre-filled. January 21st is opening day.
January 21st.
That is a.
Tuesday. It's the day after Martin Luther King Day, I believe.
Yeah.
So when would resolutions have to be in then? December?
Resolutions
They
don't
can be-
necessarily have to be done
They
ahead
can
of
be
time.
pre-filed.
You mean the resolutions or the bills?
The bills.
Yeah, the bills can be pre-filed. But as far as a resolution can be done at any time, I would actually suggest if we're gonna do a resolution, that they're already submitting resolutions and attaching them to bills, getting ready to attach them to bills right now. So maybe that's, as far as potential impact aid resolution, that we'll do that at the next meeting, as other entities are also doing that at this time. Again, it doesn't preclude us from having another meeting, a special meeting like we're doing today.
Yeah.
But I wanted to have this discussion because there's lots of things to consider.
Well, in your opinion, would it be better to have the two meetings then, or just go to the one meeting?
There's pros and cons. The con is if we have it on the 27th, we're gonna be in the middle of legislative session. You know how busy that can be. The pro is that you don't have to worry about whether you're compounding a meeting with items or needing more time or other dates to get things approved. The benefits of having one meeting are we avoid the legislative session, and we have to do that anyway. We have to move it up a little bit. So having one in the middle. It's really, if we have to have a meeting in the legislative session, we can still have a meeting during the legislative session. It's not a problem.
And I know
If I have to leave after the meeting to go up to Santa Fe, I'll leave after the meeting to go up to Santa Fe.
I mean, we can have just one meeting and then call for a special meeting if necessary.
It's, like I said, it's an option also.
That thing on the 21st seems like it makes sense to me.
The first day of the legislative session, we're not gonna be there. So I would be fine with having it on the 21st because nothing's happening on the first day anyways.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we combine the board meetings for January to the January 21st, 2020.
So one meeting.
One
and it'll
meeting
be on
for the
21st.
whole month.
Yes.
Okay. I'll
And
second,
a special meeting if necessary.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Motion's been made by Michael Shaw to have one regular board meeting on January the 21st and perhaps have a special meeting if necessary.
As
Okay,
always.
and then the second by Chris Mortensen. Roll call, Joan?
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes. Thank you, board members. We have approved that, and I guess no other business to discuss. I stand for a motion.
I would-
Go ahead.
No. All right.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to adjourn, please.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Chris Mortensen to adjourn the meeting, second by Michael Shaw. Roll call, Joan?
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes.
2:12.
2:12, thank you, board members. I think that's
Geez, I
quickest
should've given
meeting
you a
we've ever